Hi guys, it's Clarice, and I am just going to wait for everyone to roll in before I say a quick hello. Actually, you know what? I am going to flip this so y'all can see me. And once I have a couple of people in, joining in on this fun birthday painting party of mine, we'll begin. I'm just trying to make sure I don't get my hand in the camera because I've never done this front facing thing before. But yeah, I am so happy to be sharing this time with you guys. And thank you for joining. For those of you who can, I figured instead of thanks, Jill, thanks for coming. So happy to see comments. And just to share a little bit of my day with you guys. But I don't want to make this too long because I know it's Saturday, and even though I was expecting better weather today, it's kind of a little bit dull, but hey, you know what? I'll take it. Thank you, Chris. So I figured I'd show my face since it's a special occasion before we begin. And yeah, I just have something fun today for you guys. So as you all know, I love cake. And so today we will be painting a cake with flowers. Thanks, Janet. Thanks for joining. At first, I wasn't quite sure how well Saturday would pan out because the norm's always been Sunday. But I had a great response and so many wishes, so I feel very special. Anyways, let me show you what it is that I was planning to kind of do today. I'm gonna keep it fairly simple in terms of any drawing needed. So I'm just gonna flip this phone back so you can see my desk. And I just have my laptop open. So this is what we're going to be doing. I'm gonna have this open for reference, but it should be fairly quick. And yeah, hopefully it shouldn't take too much time. I have this open. So this is my setup. So just I can see while I'm painting away, I can see your comments. And then if I have an image for reference, this is where I keep it. But yes, back to this. And I'm going to set it up. Hey, Beverly, thanks for joining. And Zanette, thank you, guys. I feel so special. Thank you for joining in and just even popping by to say hi. And you can always catch the tutorial for this or this painting, whatever you want to call it, once it posts on the channel later on. But let me just say again, I so appreciate you guys just kind of joining in to say hi and paint or not paint, but you know, the thought that counts. So for those of you who missed it, this was the birthday week tutorial that I put out. It's magnolias in a C-shaped wreath. I just put this as a first thing that you see down, and just as a reminder to myself to mention it before we begin. And yeah, so let's begin. So as I showed you, we're going to be doing a cake today. Thanks, Lynn. We're going to be doing a cake today, and I'm getting a fresh sheet of paper. And so the colors that the image that I'm kind of referencing has a purple, and it has purples, and it has a little bit of gray and some green. Now, because it's on my screen, I can't really show it to you on here, but feel free to use other colors if you wish. I'll just do a rough sketch of the cake so you can see what that looks like. And you guys can just let me know if you want to do the stand or you don't want to do the stand, if you just like to kind of keep this fairly easy to kind of work with or work on. And what was I looking for? Yes, my pencil, so I can do the rough sketch. And because it's going to be a straight facing one, just so we don't have to deal with perspective and whatnot, I'm going to try and get this as straight as possible. I feel like my drawings are nice, but they're not as great when it comes to perspective sometimes. But yes, I had a couple of other happy birthdays. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lynn, and I think homeschooling with fun. Thank you. All right, so I'm just gonna do the quick sketch. So we're gonna have the two tiers. The top tier is smaller than the second. And so I'm just doing two rectangles. And I think these are fairly easy. You don't need the scan of it. So I figured let's pick something where people can kind of go along with me. And this is just a rough reference so you know exactly where you're placing your paint. So I always get my lines sometimes slightly crooked, so I'm going to try my best to do this well. And so the second layer is quite tall. And we're just going to go slightly more. And then this can be the base. So that's our cake. Let me just do the other half. Like this side doesn't quite matter because the florals are going to go here. In fact, the florals are going to cover like half, like going to go diagonally. So again, let me do a rough for the florals. I was going to erase some of this and just do some rough. So there's a rose that kind of goes here. Now we've done enough florals together. So if you want to go ahead and do florals down here or down here, or in addition to doing it up here or anywhere else, please feel free. We're just kind of, I want you guys to get used to, you know, taking an image if you like, and then kind of, if you don't like the florals, do something that you've learned already from the many tutorials we've done together. So here's a rose. We're doing another, I think it's like, it looks like a succulent. I don't know if I want to do the succulent. Let's just see how I feel, but I'll just kind of do a big blob here for now. I might just end up doing a peony because I'm in a peony kind of mood today. And then we have the tiny little florals right here, kind of tapering off and down. And then there's some at the top over here as well. And I'm just doing like really rough markings. And then there's, I think these are, it looks like lavender. I could be wrong, but I'm actually going to give mine a flare. So like kind of going off in this direction up here. And so you don't see most of the top of the cake here. So I'm just going to erase that bit. And so I want one sprig there, and I could have another one kind of extending there. And then there's another floral in the background. So there's 3 florals in total. And then just another sprig here. That's it. So we have that very rough drawing of the cake. And let's just do the base. I know I asked you guys if you want to do the base that the image showed. No one's really commented, so I think I'm just gonna do a rough idea of the base, and then you guys can follow along or not. It's totally up to you. If you're happy with just doing the plain cake and no base. Oh, let's do the end of where this cake kind of ends, right there. And I'm just going to take a quick look on my screen to make sure that it looks even and straight. I think it's okay. Usually when I sit down, I find when I sit down and draw, my perspective is from facing sideways, but if you stand up and you do a quick sketch, it makes a huge difference because you see it from a bird's eye point of view, and that really, really does impact things a lot. Cake is my favorite, guys. Annette, you need to get some cake. I baked my own cake today because, well, my husband offered and I said, listen, I really need to show off my talent, so I'm going to bake my own cake. But he did also bake me a cheesecake because that is his talent. He does some amazing cheesecake. I baked a Guinness chocolate cake with wait for it, Irish cream buttercream. So I'm super excited to be sharing that with some family members that are most likely going to pop by or not. We'll see a little bit later. And I think some neighbors too. My neighbors came singing to the door today, so that was lovely. The whole family kind of rang the doorbell and stood on my front yard and sang happy birthday to me. So I felt super special. It was nice. Not going to lie, guys. So I'm just creating, as I just figured while I'm rambling away about my birthday, that you guys are following along with this basic diamond sort of shaped stand that we have going on here. And here's the rough shape. Let me know if you guys don't see it or if you just want to do a straight line, basic bottom, like improvise. Go with what you feel more comfortable with. If this is not, like again, like I said, if you don't want to do the base at all, like you don't need to, just kind of do what you feel comfortable with. I'm just doing a very rough sketch off it. And yeah, I think I'm good with this base drawing. Yeah, now we can begin the rest of it. So for the paint, the base piece of cake or portion, layer, tier, whatever you want to call it, is the only one that has any color in it. The top is white, but we're going to use a little bit of gray, so maybe just the gray to kind of show the shading, really is what I'm trying to say. And then this cake is mainly purple and white in color, so you can use the gray to kind of show shadow for the top tier, which is all white. This is more like a marbly look, and we'll have fun kind of doing a wet on wet kind of blend, so get ready for that. And the tier, if you have, sorry, the base, if you have done it or drawn it, we're just going to use gray to highlight certain areas. And it's like a crystal vase, crystal base cake holder. It's pretty, so minimalistic, so less painting, hopefully. So for the florals, again, purple. So all we need are a purple, a gray, a yellowy green, and like a grayish green, really. But I might end up doing the grayish green is for the succulent. However, I might do something entirely different. So let me just start before I say list all the solidified colors that I'm using. Gray and purple for sure. Second one, not quite sure. Let's just see what I can get because I feel like I'm not going to be able to get that green. All right, so many people having cake in my honor, guys. Oh my gosh, cake is life. Thank you for having cake. What kind of cake? I baked an English Victoria sponge birthday cake. Oh, that sounds lovely, Beverly. Recipe, please, whenever you can, because I love trying new cakes and baking them. I don't do boxed cakes. I'm not trying to be a snob, but when you love cake that much, you just know that doing it from scratch is so much better. So, okay. So we're going to start off with the base because that's the most fun. And what I'm going to do firstly is tell you what brushes I'm using. So as per usual, I am going to be using my Silver Black Velvet in the number 4, the number 8 and then the number 8 Princeton Neptune. These, I mean, these are my standard brushes that I always like to have handy in case I need to switch about. And I'll also throw in the Squirrel Mop brush in the one that I have, just in case I want to use it for the florals. All right, so to begin, I will actually, you know what? I'm going to use the mop brush to lay on my water onto the second tier of this first. So I'm just going to get some water from my water cup, and I am laying down the color, the water. And it's okay if it overlaps some of your florals, that's fine for now. Because the florals we can do in a much darker color, so it doesn't have to look too... My water has a little bit of tinge of green in it, but hopefully yours doesn't. I should have probably swapped out my water, which I probably will later on. Okay, so now we're gonna go in and get some purple. And for this purple, I am actually going to take the purple, the violet from the St. Petersburg that I have, and I'm going to mix it with some of the red, or the what's it called, English red or Madder Lake red from, actually no, I'll use the English red. So I'm going to mix these two to get more of a reddish purple on my palette. And then once I have that, I can start laying it on. So the purple I get is this, just to show you. This is the purple I'm getting right now, and as soon as I mix in some red, I'm going to get a more wine colored purple. So I'm going to leave it this way so I can get variations of it, since it's still kind of, that's a little more reddish and this is a little more indigo violet-y purple. So let's start with that. So hopefully this is not too dry. If anything, I should have mixed the colors first. I'm just going to lay some water down again. Yeah, and I'm definitely going to need to change out my water. All right, and so first things first, I am going to get some color on here, and I'm going to just allow it to mix. And now once I have that, I'm just going to take my Squirrel Mop brush, it's a bit excess water here, and I'm just going to pull down the color and spread it around. In any kind of pattern that you really want to, but it's supposed to be a very haphazard slash abstract kind of feel. So if you don't want purple all over, if you want it to be more prominent over here, please feel free to kind of go ahead and do that. I'm just kind of laying it down in a manner that I want to, and leaving it open-ended. It's like one of those artsy, I think these watercolor cakes are really in. I'm just going to quickly swap water. Swapped up my water really quickly, and while this is still damp, I'm going to extend and make sure that the stretch of color is even, and if you want to leave some white spaces in between, absolutely go ahead. And if you feel there's certain areas you have too much, just go in with a paper towel and just dab. And the dabbing might give you some interesting results as well. It might create some patterns and whatnot, so and you might end up really liking it. So kind of go with the flow. So this is the color that I have. I'm taking some of the reddish one that I had, and let's just see if it creates any different feel to the purple that I've already laid down. And I'm not really seeing much of a difference, but that's okay. And I'm just going to keep on adding bits and stuff here and there and just have it extend in a pattern or a haphazard kind of watercolor blendy look. And then just let it dry. And I just, certain areas I want to be more prominent than the others, and I like the prominence coming from the top all the way down. So I'm just kind of dabbing away certain spots. And then I've also noticed that it's got some splatter on there, so I'm going to try for some splatter while it is wet, but I want to make sure it doesn't go all over the place. So my remedy for that is to take another sheet, and I'm just going to cover this portion up so it doesn't spill out there, and I'm going to also put another sheet over here. And I'm going to try my best to focus the splatter on this side so it doesn't go all the way. Actually, you know what? There's no harm. Let's just put another sheet at the bottom as well. Cover it up and then do the splatter. And then this way you're not stressing out about where it falls. So feel free to stop whenever you want to. I'm kind of enjoying this. Splatters are so addictive. Oh my gosh, I cannot even begin to tell you. Okay, I think I'm good with that. And actually, it wasn't too bad. It didn't kind of spread too far, so woohoo! All right, so slowly taking that off. And we are left with this. Okay, great. So now we can go on to doing the top area, which will be a nice wash of gray. And for that, I have the neutral black, but I'm just trying to find it in my palette here. Yeah, so I have the neutral black, and that looks like a black right here, but I want this to be watered down a lot. So what I'll do is, I need to be careful about this, so I'm going to lay down the color first and then do a light wash from this way going in, so like from a light gray fading off to a white. And wish me luck here. Hopefully it doesn't overpower the whole thing too much. So the rest of the other half of this cake tier is going to be an implied look. And what I'm going to do is make sure, once I've laid down the water, to just take my paper towel and just dab away so it doesn't pool, because I feel like a little bit too much water has gone down. And now I have some of the gray. I just want to test it quickly and lay it down now. And I'm just going to do a swish and then have it just kind of move it up and down so it can blend with the water. And now I'm going to go in with the Squirrel Mop, and I'm just going to pull it in by adding more water here. And so it just kind of blends in with the direction of the water that you've added it in. It's still a little bit too much gray, so that's not an issue. Just go back in with your paper towel and just dab away. So that's good enough for me right now. I'm just going to make sure that the top of it is there we go. It's a little bit too stark, so I just want to take the Squirrel Mop brush. So you would think because it's so minimal in colors that you use, that would be easier to kind of just lay it on and leave it, but I find it's a little more effort to get this. Sorry guys, I'm getting a lot of messages today because it's my birthday. Yes, I know. Sorry for those who are bored of hearing that it's my birthday. Oh, so many more birthday wishes. Thank you so much, Claudette and Blonde Lebanese. I'm sorry, sometimes I don't know everyone's name. And I have a phone call coming in, which I'm going to have to take later on. The thing about going live is this, that you are trying to, you can't go on airplane mode because it's live and you need the internet connection. And no one uses the phone anymore to call. They use WhatsApp. Anyone else use WhatsApp or any other web applications to call? Yeah. Okay, so moving on. We're going to do the florals now, and this is what's going to make the whole painting shine. So we're doing the purple that I said I used for the second tier, and we're going to make sure that we have a nice and a prominent purple first, and we're going to do a rose. So for this, like I mentioned, I have my violet and my Madder Lake red. I'm just going to blend in some more, mix in some more color, just so I don't have to midway change and get more going on. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add, using the number 4 and getting some color directly, with less water on your brush, getting it directly off your, just gonna add the insides of the rose first. And the rose is facing in this direction, so we're going, oh, we have to also make sure that the, you know what, let's not do this just yet, because we need to make sure that this portion is dried up properly. So if we paint this right now, we'll have the purple kind of seep into the gray. So let's just hold off on this for a bit. Sorry guys, I completely forgot about that. Let's use the, I use this to mix the purple. Let's just quickly do a wash for the base, which is also going to require the same gray. So let's just get that out of the way. Since I already mixed the purple with the other 4, I'm going to use this number 2 instead to do a light wash of gray at the bottom. So I already have that gray ready and handy, and what I am going to do is water down this area first. Oh, there's some water here. Oops. I have some purple on my fingers. So I'm going to water down this area first, and then I'm going to go in with the gray. And now once I have that, just going to start off with some gray here and just let it do its magic, which is just kind of seeping in all over. But I don't want it to be a full coat of gray. I want it to be like more emphasized gray on the edges and just maybe like a thin line for the center, because remember this is a crystal cake holder, so you don't want it to be too prominent. And I'm keeping a thin line of white between the actual cake and the base of this, so keep that in mind as well. Just make sure your lines are, actually it's a loose painting, so it's okay if it's slightly not straight when you're painting. Now the base, the first base has a little more shadow, so I'm just applying water first, because the key to this is making sure that you have enough white and gray, and that's what's going to make it look like a crystal version of a cake stand. So I'm just adding some gray on this side, and then I'm going to add some over here just in that direction, and just a tiny bit at the top, and then I'm leaving it at that. Then I'm going back in to add more water at the bottom, and for the bottom one we're going to add more gray at the top. So I'll show you. So I'm just adding some water here and around so it can spread once I add it on. And I'm literally just doing this. So now you have the grays on the sides, you have the grays at the bottom here, and then just a little bit to the side in the bottom here, just a hint. And you're leaving all that white space. And then we're going to go for the bottom one again, the last one. And this is also going to have the gray at the top and just a tiny bit at the bottom. So just making sure I have enough gray going on here. So adding that rush after I've applied the water will really help it move the gray around without being overpowering. And then just adding a tiny bit at the bottom. And the whole goal of doing something like this is so that when you erase your pencil marks, you can still see the stand and you can see a lot of the direction of like how the stand really looks. Now for the absolute bottom of this, we're going to do we're going to give it some shape through light and dark. And so I'm just going to add some some water, but I'm leaving the edges. So let me just draw it in so you can see. So this is the, let's say that's the line. We're going to go in here. And here's the other line. And so these two are the lines that I'm going to add water in. Like that's the area. We're not going to add much water to the sides, the extreme sides. So just adding some water in this area that I have outlined with my pencil, leaving a little bit of white space between the top and the bottom. And now that I have it fairly lined up with water, I'm going to go in with the gray and just add the gray in. And then add some at the bottom as well, in the two corners, I mean. So the two corners, I want it to be a more prominent, slightly darker gray than the rest of the shadow. And you can drag all the color to the bottom of it, because then that's usually how the base is, where it just has a little more color. And we're going to touch up the bases of these three little pieces as well. And then I'm just going to add one line with a little bit of white space in between. And then finally, I'm going to add a gray line outlining these areas too, because remember, once we erase these, we need something to kind of indicate, hey, this is the lighter, this is the portion of the stand where light is hitting. So I'm just going to quickly add a light version of that. And then just washing off the gray, I'm going to go in with just water and just blend. Just adding some water so it blends in a little bit and it doesn't look too much of a, like a line. So it's like a soft gray fade, if you will. Okay, and now that we have that, I think this is good. We're just going to add, I'm just touching up the bottom a little bit here and there. We'll add some to the upper two as well. And then we can move on to the florals, which is the fun part. So adding a little bit more here. And then just certain areas here at the bottom. And finally over here too. And I'm just going to go back with this and dab away in the areas that I feel are too much, because I don't want it to be, and I don't want it to be like a stark line. I just want it to be enough so it's like a shadow and a hint of like a darker gray to show the slight detail in the in this crystal vase. There we go. And again, just dabbing away so it's not too prominent a gray, and you can just take in water and just blend in if you feel like it's too much. Right, so okay, no more for this. We're good. So we're done with the base, and now we can go on to the actual florals, and then we're done. All right, so I have the colors already pre-mixed, so I'm just going to get in some of the purple, and I'm going to start off with a nice dark purple. So I'm going to do the center of the roses. All of you guys remember how to do the roses, I am assuming. So we're going to start off with the little C strokes. And I'm just going to dip in and get some of the red as well, so I can get a nice variation of purple in here. And I'm leaving white space, guys. So don't forget to leave white space. And I'm just doing my strokes. And the key to this is to make sure that you have more color than water on your brush. And then this way it's a lot darker than everything else that you have painted. And so it really stands out nicely. So I have done this rose, and now we're going to go ahead and do this one right here. And I did say I wasn't quite sure what I was going to use, but let me see if I can get that grayish green, which is required. Otherwise I could always do a pink one. What do you guys think of just doing a pink flower instead of doing a grayish green one here? Anyone? Oh, Deborah, thank you. Chocolate, oh, absolutely, Deborah. I will post my chocolate cake recipe in the description once once this is done, for sure. It is a must try. And hi, Annie. Thank you for telling me your name. Okay, anyone want to tell me if we should do pink, or should I just kind of go ahead and... Okay, awesome. Thanks, Janet. All right, so for the pink flower, I'm just going to use the quinacridone rose, which is my favorite pink. And in fact, I think I'll use the 4 in whatever color purple I have mixed there. Just going to get some of the quinacridone rose and use that. I think it'll be a nice blend. So I'm going to start off with the center here, and I'm just creating, just make sure if you're turning it around that you don't interfere with the bottom. And I'm just going to do little strokes like this. With white space, remember to keep your white space. And now I'm going to take the other brush that I had, and I'm just going to lightly add water in strokes that are coming down, so I don't have to, so I don't lose the shape that I've created here. By covering up all the white spaces with color, because I don't want to do that. Yeah, so something like this. So it's like a nice linear floral, and I'm just cheating and adding like a couple of dots so it looks like really loose and flowery, full of florals. And you can always go in and add some darker purple just in the hints, in the crevices, or the creases, or crevices rather, yeah. So it adds a nice 2D effect to your floral, as opposed to one blob of color just kind of plopping on there. Again, and these dots can serve as other petals kind of peeking from the back. So just leave it at that. So I kind of like how this has turned out. And then I'm going to do the background flower as well, floral flower. And for this, we'll switch back to the purple. And I'm just going to, because it's in the background, I don't want it overpowering the other two. I think I'm going to add a little bit of water in the background first. But you know what? I'm giving it a pause because this is still damp. I don't want it interfering and then losing the shape. So let's do these at the top first, and then we can come back to these. Or we could even do the yellow-green florals first. So let's do the yellow-green florals. For that, I'm taking a light green and I'm mixing it with yellow. But I need more of the green than the yellow because we don't need it to be showing up as like a bright yellow against these colors. Although I think that would be pretty too. But I want to try and keep it as muted as possible. Let's see if I can achieve that. So I'm going to actually, because it's loose, what I will do is I am going to add slight blobs of this. Only has water on here, so I'm just going to add slight blobs of water. And just make sure you're not having pools of water on here, because then it's going to just not be as great. So I've added a very tiny bit, and I'm going in with some of the yellow green that I have. Ooh, and I kind of like this green. It's like a nice, so when I add it in after I've added the water, it's kind of just pooling and doing its own thing, and it's a very loosey effect, but it's like nice enough that this could even be like a green hydrangea. Like you don't know what it could be. It could be any one of those florals. And I'm just going to add a bit here. And then finally, I'm going to add some over here as well. And for that, just adding some more blobs, trailing down. Because remember, we left this little bit of a trail for the florals that were coming down. So adding some there. And then it could just kind of blend off or taper off. And we'll work on this again. Just give it some time. And finally, we're going to do the sprigs of lavender. And for that, I am going to use the number 4 already that I have going. And I'm going to create, using the purple itself, I think I'm just going to create the little, okay, I'll just show it to you. So I already have the direction of where the sprigs are going to be. So I'm going to first lay on the little lines. And these are going to be indicative of where the lavender is. And because they're like tiny thin sprigs and kind of end off with some at the top. And then I'm going to go in with this brush, and it has some green already, but I want a slightly muted green, so I'm just going to get a little bit of the gray involved in the green. And hopefully, but it's such a thin, insignificant amount, and the lavender is kind of, the purple's going to blend in with it. So now I'm just going to draw the line. And do you see how it started off really green and then it kind of just went off into being this purple line? So that's usually what would happen anyways. So now I've washed off the color and just using water on the brush, like very, very little amount. I'm just going to add in more lines. And this is to soften up the lavender sprigs. And I'm just kind of dabbing around the florals and the purple. And so what this does is now you have a dark to light effect happening. And then you can just trail off with some dots. And so it's kind of really pretty. Oops. Pretty and light. That's okay. I'll just end off with splatter. So we're doing the same thing for the other one, just on a smaller scale and a lighter scale. And then we have one over here too, so we're just going to do that here. So I've done a lot less compared to that one because I don't want it to be as intense. So just getting some of the green first onto this brush, and then I'm going in a line, and then one here too. And then washing off all the color with just water on this. I'm just adding some sprigs or lines of water. On here as well. And then I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, so now that's done. I'm going to finally do the floral in the back, and honestly it doesn't take too much. I think I'll just do I've taken some of the quinacridone rose that I have using this brush, and I'm just going to dab it in with some of the purple and just add like a line to kind of indicate, not a line, like I've added a dab of color to kind of indicate another flower, and just leave The key is to leave white space, because then this floral could be facing any which way and the light is catching it. So just do very light dabs, leave it open-ended. If you feel like you've laid on too much color, all you need to do is go back in with just water on your brush and then just wipe off the color. Let the brush soak it in, and you can just take it away. And then if you still feel like it's too much, you can just go back in and dab it. But I like how that's turned out, so I'm just going to leave it as is and just leave it very open-ended, because this could be like a peony that's facing downward. Yeah. And that's that. And so now that I have this done, I'm just going to erase the pencil drawings, and let's just see how it turned out. And then the tutorial on birthday cake, or any, I guess, a fancy cake. I think people have cakes like this for birthdays too these days, right? Elaborate, although it looks very much like a fancy wedding cake, or like, yeah, like a really special occasion. Birthdays are special occasions though. Everyone should be happy that they're born, because they're making a difference somehow in someone's life. And 6 degrees of separation, that kind of just, it's the gift that keeps on giving. You impact someone's life, and someone else kind of goes ahead and influences someone else, and that's how the circle of life goes typically. So I'm just erasing slowly to make sure I don't take off much paint. Yeah, and I'm actually noticing something which I want to fix really quickly. So what I'm noticing after I've erased it is that I didn't have the floral extend all the way down here, so this looks like a gaping hole, especially because I have purple there. So I'm just gonna blend that in. And this way it doesn't look weird and open, like as if we completely missed it, which we sort of did, or I did. Yep, so just blended it in, but I should have paid a little more heed to make sure that this was closed up well enough. Oh, Zanette has a question. Actually, let me look at the comments. Oh, thank you so much, guys. Your compliments always keep me going, honestly. Such an encouragement. Thanks, Joan. Yep, Deborah, we went with the pink, but mixed it in with some purple. And Zanette, how do you keep from ingraining pencil, erasing after? So what I typically do is I make sure that when I'm drawing, it is very light, so that when I have to erase after, I don't have to really put in an effort to erase, because that also affects the paint. So I go very lightly on it, so that when I'm done, I just need to lightly erase and then we're done. So I find that really helps. Or if it's so light that you can't barely see it, then you don't even need to erase. However, that's like next level drawing, right? So like for instance over here, I have, like, once this is dried up a little more, I can just go in and erase it without fear of it kind of being too like spreading all over or just getting wet. So it's just a matter of making sure that you don't really dig in your pencil where it makes like an indent in your paper. So yeah, keep that in mind. Now, yeah, so this is how it's turned out. See what I mean by lining? See, my line has kind of gone a little bit upward that way, and I can fix it in by just kind of going in and adding a darker line of purple. And I'm going to do that because this is going to bother me if I don't. And actually, I like that it's adding a little more like of a dark, not a dark edge, but like it's adding somewhat of a flare to the already light painted purple. Now I'm just going to blend it in so it doesn't look too out of the blue and weird. But yeah, so ideally you want to make sure that your lines are a little more straighter so that they don't bug you after you're done. I normally struggle with things like this, so even the cake tutorial I did 2 years ago, something similar happened and it bothered me, but I still put it out there, so I hope you guys have caught that one. If you haven't, was that 2-tier? Yes, that was 2-tier as well. No, that was a single tier, sorry. I'm lying to you. Okay, so there we go. We have done the 2-tier cake tutorial. So lastly, we're just gonna end off with some splatter. And I think some splatter up in this direction would be nice. And then possibly adding some shadow at the bottom also. And then we are positively done, for sure. For sure. And then I'm just taking some of the light gray that I have on this, and I am just going to lightly add a line and just kind of taper off. So you're barely touching the paper and you're just kind of holding your brush at an angle. I'm just trying to get it as straight in line as possible. Now it's a little too close to this gray, so I'm just going to get in some of the black, like a darker gray to it, and just add it. To the bottom and then let it trail off. There we go. We're good to go. And just blending it with my brush that has only water so it doesn't look too sporadic. There we go. Done. And now finally the splatter. I'm gonna go for the dark purple, and I will use the number 8 brush for that. And then we are done. So I want it to be like a nice dark purple, maybe with a little bit of pink. But feel free to use any color that you feel would work. And I'm just going to now these are giving me bigger splatters than the number 4 would, so I think I'm going to go with the number 4 now and just get some smaller ones. Just kind of lightly. So kind of off in that direction, like where the sprigs are. Just a little bit here. And just some here as well. Just because this came here. Sorry, people are messaging me, guys. I wanted it to be as big as that. But you know what? I'm going to cheat, guys. This is what I'm doing when you cheat. You just kind of go in and you add a circle. And then obviously you don't want it to look like one isolated circle, so you do another one, which is slightly smaller in size and not too far off, and then just do another one kind of in the near distance. And then any of the ones that are not perfectly round, if you're too like anal about things like that, just go in and swish it around so it is like a nice enough circle. And then it won't bother you like it bothers me. So if your placement is a little bit off, you can absolutely go in with a steady hand, as steady as possible, and kind of just holding your brush upward this way, just go in and add as much as you can. So just making sure that this is okay. And now once I've laid this down, actually I want one over here as well. Perfect. Once I've laid this down, now last but not least, just go in and take off the extra blob of water so it doesn't pool in a weird manner. There we go. And we're done. So this is the cake, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining in for this birthday party tutorial. I hope you guys had fun. And I'm just going to read the comments really quickly before I say bye and log off. Let me see. Yep, CC, adding the color to the cake makes more three-dimensional. Absolutely. Artie, thank you so much. So glad you enjoyed it. Beverly, my brush is regular. It doesn't have too much water so that when I splatter, it doesn't get too watery, but I want the color to be a lot more potent. So I take more color, a little bit of water, and then try and get that splatter. If you're kind of unsure how much water to have on your brush, I would say just kind of test it out on stuff like as a practice session and see what results you get. I've also heard using a toothbrush is what people normally do. And you can do that. However, I find the toothbrush gives you very, very fine splatter. And while it's nice, it's not always nice for everything. So really, you pick and choose where you want to use it and how you want to use it. And yes, Beverly, like I said, just hold another brush and just tap down, and that's how you get the splatters. And my size of paper, Deborah. So I'm actually using half a sheet from the Canson Watercolour 9x12. So it's just half of that. And so 4.5 by 6 inches is what I'm kind of using right now. And Chris, thank you so much for joining, and I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed this. So thanks guys for joining, and let me know via Instagram or Facebook if you want to share images of the cake that you've created along with me. I would love to see that. And thanks for joining and sharing my special day with me, guys. Love you all. Bye.